morning everyone. Okay, so let's see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, good morning everyone. 8th June 2022. Okay, so these are the important articles. First of all, let us take overview of all these articles. Look at this news, food safety index. Okay, this is basically the food safety index. State food safety index measures the performances of the states on the basis of 5 parameters set by health ministry, but the rating is done by this Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is a statutory body. Okay, so you should be knowing this, that which particular body releases and which particular ministry has set the parameters and which are the top states here and union territories. ये सारी चीज़ें हम cover करेंगे. Indices and reports, they are important for prelims examination. Right. Now government reaches out to all OIC members, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Yesterday we talked about basics of OIC. Okay, for prelims examination, what is this organization, number of members, its headquarter, and whether India is a member or not. Now the government is individually reaching out to all these countries to explain what is happening in the country and yes, ensure that the relations between these countries with India are not deteriorated. Okay. Yes. Now come to page number 6. There is one article, Chancellor Conundrum. Okay, the context of this article, that recently Kerala government has taken, West Bengal government has taken decision to change the rules related to the governor being the chancellor of state-run universities. Okay, now the chief minister will be, we can say, instead of governor will be the chancellor of state-run universities in West Bengal. Similar decision was taken in Tamil Nadu also a few months back. And now we should know that why the position of governor as the chancellor has lost relevance. In the second part, the article is mentioning the references to Sarkaria Commission observations and Punchi Commission observations regarding the role of governor as chancellor. This can be directly written in the answer. References to committees, commissions and their recommendations is very, very important in GS2 paper polity part. It enriches your answer. Okay, what these commissions have said, when you write directly by giving reference, that enriches your answer. ठीक है? So that's why we will find out what these commissions have said about this governor's position. Now, the shadows over global growth recovery and are long. This article is written with the context of geopolitical instability, volatility that is there at the world stage presently and its impact on world economy as well as Indian economy. So overall GS3 paper economy part, we should find out the details here. Some facts are mentioned. So yes, GS3 paper economy part, we will cover this part. Okay, GST Council ruling, earlier when this ruling was given by Supreme Court, we discussed this particular article. So we will not repeat that article. GST Council, lead article. ठीक है, हमने जब ये Supreme Court का ruling आया था, that the states are also having the equal powers for legislating on GST. This was the verdict, right? We discussed this from mains perspective also. So we'll skip this particular article. Now on page number 8, of what good is bad bank? Recently again finance minister has said that the bad bank, now what is bad bank, that is mentioned in the article. What are the pros and cons, benefits and limitations of this bad bank, and in the end it talks about whether it is really going to be beneficial for those banks to increase lending. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीज़ें यहाँ पे मेंशन की है. GS3 पेपर इकोनॉमी पार्ट, एक्चुअली up till now we were expecting question in mains examination, but UPSC has not asked yet. So in future surely this year we are expecting question on bad bank. ठीक है, लास्ट 2 साल में बहुत ज़्यादा न्यूज़ में था ये बैड बैंक जो है. ओके, सो वी विल फाइंड आउट द डिटेल्स हियर. ओके, now on page number 10, India aims to join NSG, Nuclear Suppliers Group. So our External Affairs Minister is saying that we want to join NSG, but China is obstructing our membership with NSG by saying that India has not signed and ratified NPT, we can say proliferation treaty, nuclear non-proliferation treaty. सो उसकी वजह से हमें वो मेंबरशिप नहीं देना चाहता है चाइना, एंड NSG वर्क्स ऑन कंसेंसस बेसिस. ओके, सो yes, India aspires to be member of NSG. We should be also knowing that India has become the member of other 3 important, we can say that, alliances or groupings. Which are these? Missile Technology Control Group, MTCR. Second is Australia Group, and third is Wassenaar Arrangement. Okay, all these are basically the different kinds of technology and security arrangements. Okay, security or defense technology related arrangements which restricts the proliferation of the technology and promotes cooperation in those technologies among the members. Okay, so India is member of these 3 but not yet member of NSG. Okay.
Once they are agreed on that particular agreement, they need to share them openly. Member of the whatever they develop new technology, they need to share among the all members. Otherwise,
no, they can member. There is no need. Okay, but they cannot share that to other members outside that grouping. Okay, so this is important. Within group.
Within group, mandatory to share.
Not mandatory. How can it be mandatory? You know? Any country, if it is developing new technology, so it is not mandatory to share that technology. Rather, they can share that technology within that group. Okay, but not to outside group. Okay, so yes, we will find out the details here about this. Now, okay, so other are political news. Freeze on new IAS deputation rules. On page number 10 itself, earlier we talked about the new rules that the draft rules notified by, we can say, DOPT, that created some kind of uproar. ठीक है, हमने वो डिस्कस किया था ED में भी. But you should be, like, many students have started newly this discussion. Newspaper foundation batch students are also there. So let me tell you that what happened in the past is basically there was one new notification by DOPT saying that it is compulsory for states to send the IAS IPS officers for deputation to the center. Okay, compulsion was there. Okay, but up till now there was no compulsion. Basically the state governments had this pool of IAS and IPS officers, and selectively the central government can request the, we can say, these let's say IAS officers, IPS officers to be deputed. Okay, and yes, it is also not compulsion on IAS and IPS officer. Rather, the agreement from those officers is also taken. ठीक है, मतलब IAS officers, IPS officers को पूछा जाता है कि आपको deputation पे जाना है क्या, central government. If they do not want, then there is no compulsion. Are you getting this? Okay, so basically the changes in DOPT rules or related to this All India Services deputation rules, we can say that created some kind of uproar. Why? Because the states like West Bengal, Tamil Nadu government, so basically they were concerned about, or those which were ruled by opposition party, Chhattisgarh hai ya fir Rajasthan hai, so they were concerned about sending their best officers to central government on deputation, and now the rules are not being implemented. This is what being said.
So, but the states are denying sending the
yes
highly efficient officers. The states are going to be requiring.
Yes, states are also denying, and even you should know that IAS IPS officers, they themselves do not want to go to deputation because they have very good job profile at state level only. They can immediately, have promotions in the state secretariat. They can reach to the higher levels, and they have more power and authority there to bring changes at the policy level as compared to central level where they have less incentives. ठीक है, उनका 2-3 साल का टाइम पीरियड होता है, उसमें वो चेंजेस नहीं ला सकते ज़्यादा, उनको वापस से स्टेट में जाना पड़ता है, राइट. यस, ऑन पेज नंबर 12, एयर स्पोर्ट्स इन द कंट्री टू हैव एन ओवरसाइट बॉडी. So this is new development. Ministry of Civil Aviation unveils National Air Sports Policy, and in this policy 4-tier regulatory structure is there for air sports in India. Okay, like hot balloon is there, paragliding, different kinds of air sports are flourishing in the country. So the Ministry of Civil Aviation has sought to regulate this particular sector and bring harmony in terms of standards, and we can say that integrating that sports into at international level competitions. ठीक है, तो we'll find out what is that structure.
Maybe in future equal to missions also will come in sports categories.
Yes. Now joint count of elephants and big cats. So there will be here onwards the common census of tiger, elephants and leopards. Up till now it was separately done. So elephant census was 5-yearly census, tiger census was 4-yearly census. Now it will be let's say integrated at a single census. So this will reduce the efforts and time and cost also. ठीक है? Yes. And on page number 14, economy page, World Bank has cut India's let's say GDP growth forecast for next financial year to 7.5. Okay. Let us go in details of all these articles. The first one, of what good is bad bank. Recently finance minister has said that India's bad bank will acquire its first bad loan from the bank and it will try to restructure it. What is that bad bank? In India, bad bank is basically the structure containing two bodies. Okay, India debt resolution. Yes. So National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, India Debt Resolution Company Limited. Okay, so these two bodies together is being called as bad bank in India. Okay. Yes. So why this bad bank was created, you should know at present, or especially in last 10 years, the non-performing assets of commercial banks increased substantially, and that resulted into the reduced amount of capital or reserves available with the banks to lend more. The banks were becoming more and more conscious for lending purpose because of, let's say, concerns related to non-performing assets. The banks were not able to recover their loans, and therefore the availability of the capital for further lending was reduced. Okay, because of this, the new initiative was taken by the present government, bad bank. Last year it was in news because this let's say was announced in the union budget, this bad bank proposal. Now how it will work, you should know about this. Okay, so yes, NARCL basically is a let's say government company. It will be a government company, and this government company basically will be consisting of let's say several commercial banks together. They will be having stake in this company. Commercial banks themselves, they will be having the stakes, and this company will acquire the bad bank from any particular or bad loan, sorry, non-performing assets or bad loan from the commercial bank. Okay, suppose let's say there is PNB Bank, Punjab National Bank. So if it is having a bad loan and it wants it to sell it because it is not able to recover it, then the bad bank or NARCL will acquire that bad loan from that bank and it will pay 15% cash upfront manner to PNB and 85% as we can say shares, or we can say in terms of equities, and whenever it will be restructured, that amount will be repaid. Okay, now this is the we can say working of this. Now restructuring will be done by this part of bad bank, and this will be the body of professionals. This will be the body of professionals who are very much having expertise in restructuring of loans, assets, and they will try to recover from those assets maximum amount. They want to efficiently sell those assets to those who want to buy those assets. ठीक है, तो ये expertise होगा and that will be owned by this company. Understood? So this will be the working here, and when these bad loans are acquired, basically it is written off from the balance sheet of that particular bank. जैसे PNB बैंक एक बार इसको बेच दिया तो उसके बैंक के जो बैलेंस शीट होगा उससे वो लोन चला जाएगा, and now the PNB will be able to give further loans because it is not worried about the past non-performing assets. ठीक है, so this is how it is going to be helpful. Now these are the pros we can say. First of all, it will help the banks for further lending, so it will lead to credit creation. Further, it will lead to more private investment in the economy that will boost the demand and therefore the economic growth. Then we can talk about is it will lead to reduced non-performing assets, and whatever the non-performing assets are there, their let's say recovery will be good here, they will be efficiently sold. So again, this will further add more amount of capital with the banks. Okay, so that means they will be having more capacity to lend now. They will be having more capacity to lend. So we can talk about that. Now you should also know that the commercial banks, they themselves are not having expertise professionals to recover the loans. Now the expertise body, the experts will be at work to restructure these loans. So there is more possibility that these NPAs will be recovered properly, or we can say through restructuring whatever let's say NPAs are there, non-performing asset, they can be sold efficiently. Now you should know here that if suppose this bad bank is not able to sell that efficiently, so who is going to support this bad bank? Again, government. Government through equities will support this bad bank. Now this is not the incentive we can say, rather there is one timeline mentioned here for bad bank to dispose all these NPAs, and if that gets delayed, there will be penalty on bad bank. That penalty will be paid to government. मतलब गवर्नमेंट वन साइडेड सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है बैड बैंक को. द बैड बैंक needs to work efficiently here, otherwise there will be penalty. Understood? So that's why there are we can say that these are the pros. Then cons, in terms of cons you can say that especially the criticism is by the former governor of RBI, Raghuram Rajan. He is the staunch criticizer of this particular initiative. What he says that what we are doing, we are shifting the ownership of assets from the government public sector bank to another government owned public sector institution or company. तो गवर्नमेंट के इस पॉकेट से पैसा निकाल के इसी पॉकेट में रखने से फायदा कुछ होने नहीं वाला है. Yes, so this is what let's say Raghuram Rajan is saying. Second thing you should know that it is going to be further burden on taxpayers, who is going to compensate? Who is going to compensate bad bank if it is not, you know, selling those assets at efficient level? ठीक है, एट इकोनॉमिकल लेवल उसको प्रॉफिट नहीं हो रहा है तो लॉस हो रहा है, तो कौन दे रहा है? गवर्नमेंट दे रहा है. गवर्नमेंट कहां से दे रहा है? बेसिकली इट इज पेइंग फ्रॉम taxpayers money. So again it is burden on taxpayer. So this is again the problem. Then there can be the issue of moral hazard. Moral hazard means basically if suppose the every time there is let's say non-performing asset and every time suppose that is sold to the bad bank, so the banks will feel that कुछ नहीं problem है, हम recklessly lend करेंगे and if it is becoming NPA then the bad bank will decide on it. So it will create some kind of moral hazard and it will further promote reckless lending by the commercial banks. There will be further more NPAs. Okay, so this is the problem. Now you should know that will the bad bank help ease the bad bank loan crisis? Okay, so you should know the reality here in terms of analysis. So what we can talk about here is the root cause of the issue. What is root cause of this NPAs, non-performing assets?
Non-recovery loans.
No, but what is the root cause? Yes, online students.
Loans, so excessive passing loans and the loans will not able to recover. Non-recovery loans.
The loans are given without verifying the credit worthiness of that person or that bank, company. Basically what happens is they are lending but they are not understanding whether that company will be able to pay back. So prudent decisions by the bank managers while giving loans are not being taken. So that means those public sector banks, why more NPAs are there with public sector banks and less NPAs with private sector banks? Why?
Bureaucrats are running.
Yes, basically the public sector banks are headed by public servants, bureaucrats, and these are nothing but appointed personalities to manage the funds, or let's say they don't have the sense of ownership. They don't have sense of ownership. But in private banks, basically they are having sense of ownership. They are supposed to work efficiently, otherwise they know that their salary, their promotion, everything is dependent on it. यहाँ पे क्या है, इनका सब फिक्स है भाई, प्रमोट करो ना करो उनका प्रमोशन हो रहा है, सैलरी हाइक हो रहा है, right? So there is no sense of ownership, there is no sense of accountability, and because of that major aspect is happening here. Okay, so this is being considered as root cause, and that's why there is need of bringing professionalism in public sector banks. Professionalism in public sector banks. What do we observe in private sector? Private sector consider people as customer. ठीक है, जो उनके कस्टमर्स होते हैं या जो बैंक अकाउंट होल्डर्स होते हैं, सो दे वर्क फॉर देयर बेनिफिट्स. उनका जो हर्डल्स है या हैसल्स है वो कम करने की कोशिश करता है. लाइक बेसिकली वेन एवर वी वॉन्ट टू ओपन द अकाउंट इन प्राइवेट बैंक, दे विल कम टू योर होम and they will open the account. And if you want to open account in SBI, what happens? First of all, they will ask you to wait there for one day complete. Then the next day they will give you form. Okay, fill this form. Then that one day is gone. Then next day they will say that this document is not there.
Deposit money one day.
Okay, so this is what we observe in public sector bank. Okay, so they are not working efficiently, they are not working, we can say, in a professional manner. This is becoming the problem. Right, fine.
Sir, recently CAG has given.
Just a moment. क्या बोल रहे हो विकास?
मैनुअल रहता है सर, इस पे आर्टिकल आया था, तो क्या हम ये इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं राइटिंग में?
नहीं नहीं ऐसे मतलब स्पेसिफिक चीज़ मत ऐड करिए, ठीक है, कोई भी एक कोई बैंक में कुछ हो रहा है तो.
So, but recently CAG has given report about the Gujarat, sir. More loans has been passed, especially Gujarat, sir. But they are not able to recover it due to the SBI Bank has gone some non-asset properties.
Yes, basically the credit worthiness of those who are let's say receiving those loans, that needs to be verified. That is main concern here. Okay, so ठीक है, fine. Will it help revive credit flow in the economy? We need to be skeptical here. ठीक है, skeptical in a sense, yes, there is possibility. There is possibility, but again we should talk about that the banks needs some kind of support from where? Budgetary support. Okay, so the funds needs to be given to the commercial banks, public sector banks, because yes, of course that resolution of debt and all these things or NPS will take lot of time. तब तक उनके पास कैपिटल की ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. तो अगेन दिस विल बी सपोर्टेड थ्रू रिकैपिटलाइजेशन ऑफ पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स. इसको क्या बोलते हैं हम? Recapitalization. Fine. Okay. Next, shadows over global growth recovery are long. So the context of this article is at present the Ukraine war, then the pandemic, on all these things, how it has resulted into disruption of global supply chains. At present the war is resulting into inflation and we can say other aspects. Let's find out. As consequence of current situation, two key macroeconomic variables have a persistent effect on growth rebound after pandemic. Which are two key macroeconomic variables? First is inflation or general price rise of commodities, and second it talks about, we can say, capital outflows from emerging economies, developing countries, and resultant instability or impact in the market. Okay, so these are two important macroeconomic variables that have persistent effect on growth rebound at present. Let us understand the impact of this war and what is happening here. Inflation concerns and its impact on household. At present we know that both retail and WPI inflation are very high, not only in India but also in developed countries also. In US the retail inflation has reached to 15%, almost 40-year high. Okay, so you can give such data in your answer when we talk about inflation levels. Recent data dena hai. Then impact on households. Now how inflation impact the different sections of different, we can say that strata in the society, economic strata in the society. Basically we know that the different people have different consumption goods, especially in terms of food grains. So if suppose we talk about poor and marginal sections, they have they are dependent on one cereal, and such kind of inflation in that cereal will severely impact them. Okay, so we can say that it is a disproportionate impact on poor people, poor and marginal people. The rich people, they are having very less impact comparatively of this inflation because they have options. They have options to buy different goods. Okay, so impact on household, it will reduce savings. Why? Because the disposable amount is reducing with the people. They are spending on food and health and education more, and because of that their disposable income for consumption purpose is reducing. Their savings are reducing here. Okay, so this is the impact on household. Then sudden spurt in capital outflows from emerging markets and developing economies. This is happening especially because of US Central Bank decision to increase the interest rates. So all this dollar is going back to US from emerging economies, and we can say that developing countries like India. Then debt levels have touched all-time high following huge fiscal expansion in many countries during pandemic. Now during pandemic, what happened? Healthcare expenditure. Then after pandemic, there needed some kind of boost to the economy. So what happened in India? Government provided Atmanirbhar package. So huge amount of public funding was there for infrastructure development and other areas. And because of that, what happened? The fiscal expansion. And that led to fiscal deficit. That led to fiscal deficit, increase in fiscal deficit of the governments. Now this is becoming problem. Why? Because the government needs to borrow more and more to finance this fiscal deficit.
That's why they increase the fuel prices now, sir.
Yes, they are not reducing. That's why the taxes, we can say, they are more concerned about fiscal deficit. But now here onwards, what they need to do here is have some kind of fiscal prudence and fiscal consolidation. Fiscal prudence means prudence in terms of expenditure. It should be efficient expenditure. ठीक है, मतलब गलत जगह पे वेस्टफुल एक्सपेंडिचर कम होना चाहिए गवर्नमेंट का. Consolidation in terms of reducing the fiscal deficit. That means increasing the revenue and reducing the expenditure, especially revenue expenditure, not capital expenditure. But while doing that, government needs to focus that the welfare expenditure should not be reduced, because this is very important for poor people. Okay, so welfare expenditure should not be reduced, rather we can say that the other revenue expenditure that needs to be reduced. Okay, then in the post-pandemic global economy, there will be likely cross-sectoral, we can say, reallocation. Cross-sectoral reallocation means the jobs are being lost. अगर job loss हो रहा है तो people will try to find the job in other industries. So this is called as cross-sectoral labor reallocation. Okay, earlier suppose the person was working as an engineer, that person may be now doing the other job. Cross-sectoral reallocation of labor. And because of this, what we need to provide to these people or labor is safety nets. Because there will be, the job loss also, the people may be working in unorganized sector now. More people will be working in unorganized sector. They require some kind of safety nets. Along with that, the government needs to provide them some kind of training and skill development, so that they again start working in efficient manner. Their productivity is increased. That will be helpful for overall economy further. Understood? So ये सारे problem को a way forward इसी तरीके से देना है. Then for inflation, what should be the way forward? For inflation, we can say less can be done here by RBI in terms of monetary policy. Why? Because this inflation is, imported into India. Imported inflation means, imported inflation.
High rupee, we need to pay more dollars now.
No, imported inflation means basically it is happening because of the global price rise. Okay, so crude oil prices are very high. Along with that, food prices are very high, and we are importing them. We are very much dependent on them. So whatever the inflation that we are having in India, largely it is because of fuel and food. High prices of fuel and food. Okay, so and this is being imported in India largely. Okay, food especially we can talk about edible oils. So edible oil and fuel, crude oil, coal, natural gas, very high prices. So because of this we are facing the inflation. So RBI can do, or government can do little here. Simply we should understand that they need to monitor this situation on how this inflation is reaching to the people, and there these authorities can take certain decisions. For example, suppose the decision is related to increase in policy rates. Okay, this can be done only after continuously monitoring the situation कि inflation कैसे बढ़ रहा है, retail inflation, तो उसके हिसाब से policy rates change करना चाहिए. Then fiscal policy, again the government can bring some changes related to tax cuts on certain imported items and all these things. Okay, जैसे अभी recently edible oils पे उन्होंने tax cuts किया है government ने, right? So all these let's say measures needs to be mentioned. In terms of outflows, capital outflows can suddenly destabilize the markets. Okay, so for that purpose, what will be the impact of outflows? Main impact, yes, it will be impact on CAD, current account deficit, and foreign exchange will reduce. At the same time there will be currency depreciation. So as to stop that currency depreciation, reduce we can say the impact on currency of the country, what RBI can do here is basically it can do some kind of
cess tax increases around the imports.
It can sell and buy dollars in market with the help of forex.
Also the RBI will increase the taxes also to control the high.
No, first of all tell me whether the dollar needs to be sold or bought so as to manage the situation right now. Whether it needs to be sold or bought.
Sold.
Huh? Yes? Yes. So dollar needs to be sold in the Indian market so as to stop the rupee's depreciation. See, rupee depreciates, that means essentially the demand of rupee has reduced. That is rupee depreciation. How we can increase the demand of rupee? By selling dollars. That means there is more demand for rupee in exchange. That will stop rupee depreciation. So government is RBI is having sufficient foreign exchange, so it can start selling that in market to temporarily stable the situation, manage the situation. Understood? So this needs to be written in way forward. Chancellor Conundrum. Yes, let us understand what is given in this article. Yes, so recently West Bengal and Tamil Nadu government has taken decision to remove governor as chancellor of state-run universities, and we can say appoint or chief minister will be having that responsibility. Although these bills are pending with the governors of these two states, the governor has not given the approval up till now. And what is happening in Kerala? It is reversed situation. Okay, so there in Kerala, the governor himself has asked the chief minister to take this responsibility. ठीक है, तो उल्टा है वहाँ पर केरला में जो है वो. Fine, that is not that much important. You should just give reference to these instances. But why governors were given this responsibility at the first place itself? Yes. The original intent of making governor hold the office of chancellor was to insulate universities from political influence.
They need as a government employee.
No, see, universities should be independent from the mainstream politics, we can say. Why? Because they are the temples of education, we can say, universities. And if suppose they are controlled by the government, then what will happen? The politics will influence the, let's say, intellectual aspects or education development, and to insulate that, this was done. Fine. Then Sarkaria Commission regarding this particular situation had the favorable view in towards governor. So use of discretion by some governors in some university appointments had come in for criticism. Okay, so the statutory powers are given to the governor in terms of appointing certain authorities in universities. But that needs to be done after consultation, or we can say in consonance with the opinion of Chief Minister or Council of Minister. But many times the governor used discretion here. That is criticized. But yes, it acknowledged distinction between governor's constitutional role and statutory role performed as chancellor. Also underlined that chancellor is not obliged to seek government's advice. In this case, particular case, in terms of constitutional role, the governor needs to take decision on aid and advice by the Council of Ministers. But the statutory role that is given to perform as chancellor, he is not required to take advice from the Council of Ministers. This was view of Sarkaria Commission. But the recent commission Punchi 2005, the governor should not be burdened with the positions and powers which may expose the office to controversies or public criticism. It advised against conferring statutory powers on the governor. So, conflicting view diya hua hai. It has said that relevance of governor as chancellor of universities has lost. Okay, so we can also give this reference, Punchi Commission reference, by saying that yes, the governor's role as a chancellor can be removed here. This is creating unnecessarily conflict between the role of governor and role of Council of Minister headed by Chief Minister. Okay, so this controversy and this issue you needs to be aware. Air sports in the country to have an oversight body. So here this particular policy, National Air Sports Policy, was released by Ministry of Civil Aviation, and this provides for 4-tier regulatory structure. What is this? At apex level, Air Sports Federation of India. जैसे Sports Federation of India होता है ना, SFI, वैसे Air Sports Federation of India will be there at national level, apex body. Then there will be national associations for individual sports. Now within this air sport there are many of them, like for example we can say ballooning is there, drones, gliding and parachuting, paramotoring, ये सारे जो है या hot balloon वाला जो मतलब sports होता है. There are different kinds of sports. Now at regional level, regional unit of individual sport will be there. At district level, district unit of individual sports will be there. Okay, so how this ASFI will work? Basically it is let's say umbrella body for all sports, and each sport will be having 3-tier structure: national, regional and district level. Understood? Okay, so this policy talks about, let's say, ASFI as apex body which will oversee aspects of regulation, certification, accidents and penalties. So it is purely regulatory body, we can say. Fine. Okay, some facts are mentioned. Air sports industry in the country was today worth 80 to 100 crore with nearly 5,000 providers, which would grow 10 times in terms of revenue and yield 1 lakh direct jobs apart from multiplier effect on the economy in future. Okay? Yes, fine. Now, food safety index, it is released by FSSI, Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, and the indicators are set by Health Ministry here. Okay, so Tamil Nadu has topped this. You can see the ratings. First 3 yaad rakhne hai: Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Maharashtra. Okay, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and Maharashtra. So large countries में ये ranking है, और जो यूनियन टेरिटरीज है, अमंग यूनियन टेरिटरीज जम्मू एंड कश्मीर, दिल्ली एंड छत्तीसगढ़ secured first, second and third rank. So Jammu and Kashmir is the first rank among union territories. Okay, so this is also good development. Fine. Okay. Joint count of elephant and big cats, environment section. Up till now we know that tiger census was 4 yearly census and elephants counted once in a 5 years. Now the tiger census, leopard census and elephant population in the country will be having the common census, and this will reduce the required resources, time and energy. At the same time, this will be the first time robust scientific method based on statistical techniques will be implemented. The absolute methods that are used, they will be removed, and at the same time you need to know how the census is done. Elephant numbers would be estimated by states based on DNA analysis of their dung droppings and statistical techniques. Tigers are counted by deploying camera traps, identifying individuals based on stripes as well as statistical analysis. Absolute method जैसे pug marks use करते थे पहले, that is absolute method. Now the camera traps and we can say the stripes. Okay. Then India aims to join NSG, nuclear supplier group. See, the nuclear supplier group is 48 member grouping, elite club of countries that deals with the trade in nuclear technology and fissile materials, besides contributing to non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. So this grouping was made to stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons, but to those countries where it can fall into the hands of non-state actors. India did not sign NPT. Okay, did not sign this particular treaty, non-proliferation treaty, but India is having nuclear warheads. You should know that those countries which are having nuclear warheads, and if they are not member of NPT or they are not signed NPT, there are some sanctions by these countries, members of NSG. But in 2010, 9-10, let's say during that decade, these countries led by US, they provided some kind of waiver to India, and then we can say civil nuclear deal was signed between US and India. India was provided waiver here, and the technology was given to India, and the nuclear material was also supplied to India by the members of NSG. It is not allowed by NSG at present, but such waiver was given to India, you should know. But India wants to become member of NSG. China is obstructing. Why? Of course, China नहीं चाहता इंडिया ग्रो करे, तो उसकी वजह से. But when we say that NSG is consensus based. It works on principle of consensus. So unless and until China agrees here, so we may not get the membership of NSG. But yes, in last 3-4 years we have got the membership of remaining 3 important groupings. MTCR, Missile Technology Control Regime, Australia grouping and Wassenaar arrangements. Okay, fine. Now World Bank cuts India's financial year 23 GDP growth forecast to 7.5. Okay, and the reasons given by reducing this forecast is rising inflation, supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions. ये reasons आपको पता होने चाहिए. Okay, so rising inflation, supply chain disruptions and geopolitical tensions. Okay, this was given in latest issue of Global Economic Prospects report. Now for prelims examination, reports of different we can say international bodies, it is important for prelims examination. Global Economic Prospects report, it is given by World Bank. Okay, yes. What should be answer here then? Simple information based question.
2, 3 and 4.
Okay. So answer should be
C.
India is a member of which of the following groupings? So India is not member of NSG. Okay, so India is member of Wassenaar, Australia and MTCR. So that's why answer should be C here. Fine? Okay. Yes, any question? Okay, let us stop.
The statement made by World Bank, is it an assumption or it's a record?
Sorry?
Last one. The last article you discussed, it's an assumption only or it's something?
No, it is not assumption, it is forecast.
Okay.
Forecast on certain data they receive or indicators, वो सिमुलेशन करते हैं किसी तरीके का डेटा लेके, उसके हिसाब से वो फोरकास्ट करते हैं. हर एक कंट्री के लिए होता है इस रिपोर्ट में.
Advanced estimations.
हाँ. ओके फाइन. लेट अस स्टॉप देन. ओके. यस.
Welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Study general studies with Lukmaan IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukmaan IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.